It's official, Little Nightmares 3 has returned to the spotlight, and with the newly released 18-minute gameplay demo titled Necropolis, excitement for the franchise has reached a fever pitch. But this isn't just a teaser, it's a psychological excavation into trauma, memory, and the dark corners of the imagination. This third installment expands upon the symbolic terror and emotional resonance of its predecessors by revisiting the petrifying Eye of the Maw, recalling the oppressive maternal symbolism of the Lady's Domain, and evoking the fractured architecture of Pale City. It also introduces new co-op mechanics and richly layered environments. It deepens the lore with a richer mythology tied to external media like the Little Nightmares podcast. The gameplay doesn't just advance the series, it transforms it into a complex narrative about emotional fragmentation and the inner battles of children forced to grow up too fast. Building on what we've seen so far, this analysis examines the lore of Monster Baby, the role of Ferryman, and the hidden narratives woven into Necropolis. It builds upon everything we've seen so far, examining Monster Baby, Ferryman, and the city of Necropolis, and speculates on what terrifying revelations might still be waiting behind the next mirror. Along the way, we'll also reflect on how the series' signature use of scale, silence, and surrealism continues to evolve, and what all this might mean for the deeper psychological messages Little Nightmares conveys to players about fear, trauma, and ultimately, recovery. We're Little Nightmares to used cold, static televisions as portals, symbolizing isolation and distorted perception. Little Nightmares 3 instead employs mirrors, intimate conduits that force self-reflection and internal confrontation. These are no longer external manipulations, but reflections, internal journeys. Mirrors are inherently symbolic. In folklore, they're windows to the soul. In dreams, they often represent our desire to see ourselves clearly or our fear of what we might find. Low and alone, stepping through mirrors implies they are confronting internal realities, not escaping them. These portals blur the line between dream and memory. Every reflection is a risk. Each time you enter one, you might leave a piece of yourself behind. And the Ferryman, as the guardian of these portals, becomes a gatekeeper to the subconscious, the repressed, the forgotten. Could it be that mirrors also represent stages of healing? For instance, a mirror could first dim colors and silence ambient sounds to symbolize denial, while a second might shatter your reflection into fragmented pieces representing anger or grief. Later, a third mirror might restore clarity, bringing crisp visuals and harmonious audio to signify acceptance and the reintegration of buried memories. Perhaps they reflect versions of Low and Alone that once were that never had the chance to be. More intriguingly, could the mirrors shift over time, responding to the player's choices or state of mind? What if each mirror leads to a subtly altered version of the same place, subtly influenced by what we've chosen to confront or avoid? The Ferryman looms as a quiet and commanding figure, his footsteps echoing through the empty corridors, his presence chilling in its stillness. He evokes mythic guardianship, resembling Karen, the underworld boatman of Greek lore. But unlike Karen, Ferryman doesn't ferry the dead, he ferries the broken. He is the judge of readiness. The mirror opens when he allows it, and his approval is silent. That silence could speak volumes about how trauma works. Sometimes the door to memory doesn't open until we're forced to knock. Ferryman's neutrality is a theme that has sparked debate. Some players believe he represents a suppressor and agent that protects children from pain until they're strong enough to face it. Others think he might be the Nowhere's guardian, ensuring that no one escapes without confronting their truth. What if Ferryman is more than a gatekeeper? What if he is the original resident of the Nowhere, and every nightmare encountered is a reflection of his own regrets, relived through the children he watches over? In that case, the Ferryman would be a tragic figure, caught in an endless cycle of facilitating healing he never found for himself. Statues fill the streets, frozen figures captured mid-laughter, mid-reach, or mid-fall, as if caught in their final, fleeting moments. All turned to stone by the Monster Baby, capturing silent echoes of lives paused mid-moment. If every chapter of Little Nightmares has a symbolic geography, Then Necropolis is a city built on silence. Silence of the forgotten, of things left unsaid. The sand suggests impermanence. Wine constantly shifts the landscape, just as memory erodes over time. It's easy to forget, to bury what we cannot cope with. Necropolis is a place where repression becomes architecture, where every wall hides a name and every stairwell echoes with loss. A popular theory is that Necropolis was once a place of nurture, a home, a school, an orphanage now corrupted by exposure to the nowhere. Children here didn't just disappear, they fossilized. The statues symbolize emotional freezing, the trauma that locks us in place, mid-thought, mid-feeling. Necropolis is fear calcified, and Monster Baby is its agent. Some fans have speculated that the city might be sentient in its own way, shifting and reforming based on the fears of whoever walks within it. For example, a hesitant player might see corridors twist to block their path when they linger too long, or walls could split open to reveal hidden chambers when they confront a buried memory, making the environment dynamically responsive to emotional states. If true, the environmental design may not just be surreal, it may be reactive, built to reflect the specific unresolved trauma of the player's path. What makes Monster Baby so terrifying isn't that it attacks. It's that it watches, it knows, and when it sees you, it stops you. Its eye doesn't harm the body, it immobilizes the soul. A representation of judgment and the paralyzing fear of being seen, Monster Baby twists childhood into something monstrous. Its pacifier, toddler-like movements, and innocent laughter create a disturbing contrast to its brutal effect. Where the lady was power through vanity, and the thin man was detachment through surveillance, Monster Baby is vulnerability weaponized. It may represent a child broken to early or even trauma caused by a child. The ambiguity here deepens the horror. One fascinating theory is that Monster Baby is not a villain at all, but a warning. A glimpse into what Low or Alone could become if they never find healing. Or, even darker, what if Monster Baby isn't separate at all but a splinter of Low or Alone, twisted and sealed away? What if the creature isn't just a threat but a mirror, begging to be recognized and reintegrated? More than companions, Alone and Low feel like one psyche split in two. Their differences aren't just gameplay mechanics, they're emotional archetypes. Low, the archer, stands back. He hesitates, he strategizes, he avoids. Alone, the wielder of the wrench, breaks walls, she engages, she confronts. This balance evokes a therapeutic theme: cognitive dissonance in healing. To heal, you need both confrontation and restraint, grief and hope, fear and curiosity. Alone's design has sparked speculation that she may be a young version of 6. The theory gains weight when we consider Alone's resolve, resourcefulness, and unspoken pain. If Little Nightmares 3 is indeed a prequel, the emotional weight of this installment could redefine the entire series. Moreover, the title itself alone is an irony. Because to survive in the nowhere, you need someone, even if that someone is another side of you. Players have begun to wonder if Little Nightmares 3 will include dream sequences or reality breaks where the two characters merge or even switch roles. If so, it could provide a powerful visual and emotional moment where the game's duality collapses into unity. The game's puzzles are more than obstacles, they're metaphors. They model the internal negotiations of emotional struggle. One character must hold the weight so the other can pass. Umbrellas carry you on currents that can't be controlled. Some tasks require separation, others, perfect synchronization. These design choices aren't random, they reflect how memory, fear, and healing work. Sometimes we carry each other, sometimes we walk alone. Sometimes we fall and sometimes we catch one another. Even collectibles like feathers and shattered toys may act as memory fragments, tokens of identity scattered across the nowhere. Collecting them could represent reclaiming forgotten parts of the self. Could puzzle outcomes subtly change the story? Here's a hypothetical scenario illustrating this idea. Puzzle setup. Lo and Alone encounter a chamber sealed by fragmented mirror shards scattered across two platforms. Co-op mechanics. Player 1 Lo must shoot precise mirror shards into place, while Player 2 Alone holds a lever that stabilizes the shards under a strict timer. Failure condition. If either player fails, Lo misses a shot, or Alone releases the lever too soon, the mirror shard falls, and the memory it represents remains inaccessible. Narrative consequence. In the endgame, the final cutscene reflects this choice. Characters emerge, but one's reflection is incomplete, symbolizing unresolved trauma and a bittersweet partial closure. This system ties player performance directly into narrative resolution, making each cooperative action essential to the character's emotional journey. Here's what we know so far. Confirmed developer details. As of spring 2025, full co-op mode is confirmed. Monster Baby is a central antagonist of the Necropolis biome. Ferryman appears to be the narrative gateway to deeper memories. Q4 2025 release expected likely October. Upcoming speculations. Expanded trailers introducing new realms like Flesh Town, the Spiral, or Clock Tower. An interactive AUG experience or hidden site connected to the mirrors. A continuation of the Little Nightmares podcast with crossover hints. A reveal that connects Alone and 6 more directly. Multiple endings influenced by co-op performance or narrative choices. Layered sound design enhancements, with ambient noise reacting to trauma proximity and emotional breakthroughs. Little Nightmares 3 ultimately asks us to stand before our own mirror. Will we shy away from the shadows within, or dare to step forward and reclaim the light? In Necropolis, every shattered reflection and frozen statue symbolizes a memory we've left unattended. As Lo and Alone guide us through corridors of fear, they remind us that true escape comes not from fleeing our past, but embracing it. Step through the next mirror to confront what you've buried and begin the true journey of healing, and the real healing begins. What do you think lies behind the next mirror? Could Alone be 6? Is Ferryman the protector or the prisoner? Is there any true escape from the nowhere? Share your theories, leave a comment, subscribe if you want more. Because this nightmare doesn't fade with sleep. It deepens with memory, and we're just getting started.